¿Te interesa ser dueño de las mejores propiedades en el Vail Village y Lion Vail, pero solamente pagar una fracción del precio? No dejes de escuchar este episodio donde te voy a presentar el más nuevo concepto de co-ownership en Vail. Hola, soy Beatriz Martinez, la host de este podcast Conquering Vail, donde hablamos de todos los temas relacionados al real estate y al lifestyle de Vail Valley, exclusivamente enfocados al comprador internacional. Bienvenidos a mi podcast. En la mañana de hoy tengo el honor de presentarles a los founders y al corredor del nuevo concepto de co-ownership en Vail, Ancana Living, Ryan Black, que es el founder, y Jeff Morgan, que es el corredor de las propiedades de todo el concepto. Ryan y Andrés, que son los cofundadores, se conocieron en la universidad y decidieron juntarse para emprender este concepto de co-ownership, que ya tiene alrededor de casi 10 años. Empezaron su emprendimiento en las playas de México y recientemente decidieron lanzarlo en el Valle de Vail. Good morning, Ryan and Jeff. Thank you for being here at my podcast, Conquering Vail. Appreciate your time. So Ryan, we'll start with you. How did Ancana Living started, and what led you and your partners to expand its co-ownership opportunities in Vail?
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Ancana was founded in 2020 in Mexico City, but our origin story, as you mentioned a little before, actually began in 2010 in Austin, Texas. That's where I met my co-founder, Andrés Barrios. We were going to business school at the University of Texas. We became fast friends, had a great 2 years in Austin. And actually, my first time in Mexico City was at Andrés's wedding. I didn't know, 10 years later that I'd be running a business out of Mexico City. But so we both graduated. Andrés moved back to Mexico City, worked in real estate and private equity. I had a startup in Austin that I was still working on. I eventually made my way back to California. So fast forward to 2020, we're in the height of the pandemic. I get a call from Andrés, and he tells me about this really exciting opportunity he sees in real estate in the co-ownership space. And he wanted to know if, I was interested in building a company around this. And, I was looking around the world at the time, and more and more people were starting to work remote. Vacation home ownership was increasing in popularity. I had several friends who were looking at buying vacation homes for the first time. People were just traveling more. And really what it meant was people were just looking for connection. They were looking for a place to go and make memories. I think COVID kind of brought out how important, actually doing things with people you love is. And so I saw the opportunity. I really did see the opportunity there. So I jumped on board. We were fortunate enough to get accepted into Y Combinator, the accelerator out of the Bay Area. Had a great experience going through Y Combinator. And at the end of that, we were able to raise some seed money, which allowed us to get the business going. And for the last 5 years, we've been building out the co-ownership program in Mexico. We're currently in 17 destinations, including our recent expansion into Madrid and now into Vail. And so Andrés and I moved here this year, hoping to bring our experience selling and managing co-owned vacation homes in Mexico and expand that opportunity here in Vail.
Also, you're already in 17 destinations?
Yeah, mostly in Mexico, but this year we expanded to Madrid as well as Vail.
Wow, excellent. And why Vail? Why did you choose Vail as your next expansion? The destination.
Yeah. If I told you just because we wanted to live here, would that make sense?
Yes.
No, but in reality, one of the things that we've learned, it's really important for our business, is we really need to find destinations that people want to come back to over and over again.
And diversification, I guess, of the portfolio of co-ownership properties.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. But part of what makes Vail so attractive is that people do want to come back here over and over again. And even more ideally, they want to come back here, throughout the year. So it's not just that people want to come out here for the incredible winters and the iconic skiing, but more and more they want to be out here in the summer for all the activities you can do out here. You get access to the mountains with cooler weather. And so that really makes Vail an ideal place for co-ownership, because as you know, owning a place in Vail can be very expensive, and it's a big risk for people to buy a full ownership home here. And that's where co-ownership really steps in.
And I'd like to say that that's where I really got interested in co-ownership. To us in this valley, it was new. It's something that's still fairly new and expanding, and we're on the forefront of it, which is exciting. And what, I sell lifestyle, accessibility to world-class skiing, different things of that nature really tied into what this was, because managing a home can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, not if at the low end 50. So you're managing this, and you're not here all the time. So this really gave the people an option to not necessarily manage their home at all, have a much lower carry cost, and own a luxury home. So those three components right there really excited me. And when I spoke with Andrés before meeting Ryan, that really took us on a path that led us to where we are today, which is exciting. I like breaking out of the box a bit in real estate, and this certainly steps outside of it, and I like that.
And Jeff, I agree. You and I have been in the business for many years, and co-ownership in Vails, especially the past 5 years, the prices have. I mean, let's be honest, they have, in some areas doubled. All of a sudden, co-ownership makes a lot of sense in a place, in a destination like Vail. And I have seen the increase of interest as well. Especially in, high-end properties that you don't necessarily not only managing it, but you don't maybe you want to diversify your investment portfolio and you want to allocate X amount to a property in Vail, but you don't necessarily want to put 15, 20 millions into a property, but you would be willing to do $1.5, $2 million. So I think for, Ryan, and I agree with you, I think of course, I asked you the question, but I think Vail is a perfect destination for a co-ownership product. What and either of you can answer this question. What makes Ancana Living different from all, other co-ownership opportunities out there, not only in Vail, but maybe in other markets where Ancana is currently at? What makes it different?
To jump in based on what you've seen here. Part of what we're selling is real ownership. So co-ownership with Ancana is not like a timeshare or a right to use model. You actually get real ownership in the property. And the way we set that up is through the LLC. So the property is owned through the LLC. The title is held by the LLC. And each owner is basically buying a share of that LLC. So you have real ownership. You're on the deed through the LLC. Which means that it gives you a lot of flexibility, both in terms of, your ownership rights and structure, but also in the event that you eventually want to sell your fraction or, include it in your living trust or your will. It just makes it an ideal vehicle for doing that. And so you get your ownership and it matches up, what you're owning with what you're actually using, right? So people want to be here in the summer. They want to be here to ski in the winter, but what are they doing with the house the rest of the year? It's either sitting empty and they're having to worry about it. And when they show up, maybe there are some things that need to be fixed. They got to stock the home. And that's where Ancana really steps in, is we manage everything about the property. So the minute that you show up at your home, your vacation starts.
Can they rent out their property? Jeff, can they rent out the property if they don't use it?
Of course, that is the ownership kind of framework that Ryan was discussing. You do own it. You own every single day that you have purchased as a member of the LLC, and that interest is to your discretion. I have one of the owners currently. He used a week for an auction at his daughter's school to raise money. So it's yours. You can use it how you want. And yes, you can rent every single day if that's what you wish. Ideally, we're hoping that owners use it on the primary basis, but everybody has life-changing moments, and that is the freedom of it. The other thing that's really attractive is it's truly second home. When you show up, your skis are ready, your boots are ready, your bike's ready, your clothes are there. We're obviously not unpacking your clothes for you, but they're right there at your door. So those type of things are just that second home. I'm walking in and it is my house. It's that feeling, that kind of warmth and comfort that people want. And they didn't have to pay $9 million for the house. So, yeah.
Exactly. Do they have the flexibility to resell their co-ownership percentage or the membership or whenever they want, or is there some type of limit to that? And in terms of pricing, can they price it when they're going to go resell it? Is there a cap on the price, or
Ryan, you could either address this or I can. The way that we formulated it, there is no cap. We're going to move with the market. Obviously, if the market recovers and it's worth 1.5 and you bought it for 1.1, then we're going to put it on the open market for 1.5. You have to own it for a year, a little bit more, just to maintain that relationship with Ancana. But beyond that, resellable is right of first refusal with the owners, of course. That's first. And then second, out in the open market for whatever market value it is. And you make that gain.
Yeah. And I mean, just to echo what Jeff said, I mean, it's one of the benefits of our ownership structure is because you own equity in the home itself, as the value of the home rises, the value of your share also rises. So if you do decide you want to turn around and sell it, we don't put any cap on what you can sell it for. We don't require that you sell it through us. As Jeff said, the current owners get right of first refusal. But after that, if you have someone else who wants to buy it, or you have, your cousin's a broker and they want to help you sell it, that's totally fine. But we do, we offer resale services as well. So we obviously over time, we built up a database of qualified leads who might be interested in that share at that current price. And, we're always willing to help out there. But as Jeff mentioned, this is true vacation home ownership. What you do with your share is really up to you.
And in Vail, I believe you already have, I don't know, and again, if we're going to talk about it, but I believe you let me know, you already have a property in Vail that you are in the process of launching. Do you already have pricing? Can we openly talk about
We'd
it?
love to talk about
and
it.
which
Yeah.
property is it?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Okay.
So the property is in the Lion, one of the newer buildings in Lion's Head. As Lion's Head begins refacing itself, it's certainly made a mark with the amount of amenities that are there, the conveniences, pulling an underground, the heated parking, and going up one elevator to your property. These aspects are super great. There are a couple parking spots for the property as well, so you could bring your own vehicle. And the Lion itself is the new icon of Lion's Head. It's a beautiful location. This property that we have currently is a 3-bedroom, very expansive bedrooms, nice spacing and south-facing views. It does look right at the Vail Mountain. It's going to be offered at $925 per share. So this is a really, really value point right here. Is we're now under $1 million, and our target for the future properties is really to make it that feasible and that easy to acquire this. $1 million to a savvy buyer that could purchase the whole building or the whole property themselves. That's, to them, they see, okay, I get a piece of it for under $1 million. It's not a huge expense for me to get into this property. I don't need to buy a $5 million property. I have a lot of people currently in my market just pausing on big purchases. There's no need for it. We sell things in a vacation area that people don't need, but this creates a want. Like, I want this property, but I don't want to pay full price for it. Well, you really aren't paying full price. I do get phone calls like, how could I get that property for $925? And it's a great opener for an explanation.
Yeah.
I said, if it truly was $925, I would have bought 10.
No, and that's gonna be the title of this of this is gonna be in YouTube as well. That's gonna be the title. How can you get, one of the most, expensive, or the luxurious, properties in Vail Village and Lions Head, but paying a fraction for it. And, so it's a 3-bedroom at $925 per share. How many shares does each, property I guess it's a co-ownership of the LLC, correct? So how many would there be total?
So there are 8 shares total. So that guarantees every owner 6 weeks of usage per year. And this is probably a good intro into how the usage schedule works and what differentiates us a little bit from some of the other fractional offerings here, as well as other co-ownership opportunities. So what makes Ancana a little bit unique is we've built very flexible and equitable scheduling systems, but we tailor them to each market, right? So what works in Cancun or Puerto Vallarta is probably not going to work in Vail or Madrid. People are just using the homes differently. They're wanting to travel at different times for different periods of time. So if we're talking Vail specifically, what we guarantee every owner is they're going to get 3 weeks in the summer, and that includes during peak times. They're going to get 10 days in the summer, and they're going to have a week and a half during the off seasons that they can either use or put into a rental pool. And so what we're really trying to do here is, as we said from the beginning, is we're trying to match the ownership structure with how people actually want to use the home. So we know they want to be here in the winter. We know they want to be here in the summer. And so we give them those options. So we guarantee every owner those times. The way that the actual scheduling system works is it's a rotating schedule. So it's flexible and it's equitable. You're not locked into the same weeks every summer. You're not locked into the same winter week every year. We know your circumstances change. You want to be here at different times. So every year you can choose different dates. You're always guaranteed, 3 weeks in the winter and you're 10 days in the summer, but those dates can change every year. And every year the selection order rotates so that, everyone gets, a chance to have their home for Christmas or New Year's or whatever other holiday or special occasion is important to them.
The flexibility is another piece too. I mean, once you're locked in to your weeks and you have booked all of these in the periodic dates in which we book both winter and summer, then it's call to management, it's trade weeks. I can't come 2 weeks in January that I have locked in. Can I do a week in January, a week in March? Who has that open? Where does that shuffle happen? And at the end of the day, that kind of flexibility and arrangement is another attractive quality of Ancana and how they work with the individual to meet kind of their needs, and allowing you again to feel like ownership. You're going back. I keep going back to that because, oh gosh, I can't make it now. I got to come out another time. Wow, it worked. Okay, well, that does feel like I own the house. It gives me that freedom.
Yeah. And can the weeks in the winter, can the weeks be consecutive weeks if as part of the rotation when you get in that rotation schedule? Can they be consecutive in the winter
Yes.
specifically
Yeah.
speaking?
People can definitely choose consecutive weeks. I mean, one thing we do is obviously we break up, Christmas and New Year's so that, we can get different owners in during those peak times. But yeah, I mean, people can definitely book consecutive weeks. They can spread them out as they see fit. It just really depends on kind of their selection order and what their priority is.
And in terms, is there any option for financing or maybe a third party that would finance or give you an opportunity to finance these purchases or the co-ownerships?
That isn't an option that we've discussed at this point in time. Being an undeeded, you're not owning the full deed. You're part of an LLC. This is a membership interest purchase sales agreement. So it's a MIPSA. That membership interest purchase agreement basically allows each owner to have the right to what they've purchased. And when you are submitting that type of financial to a bank, and I would say it's going to be more directed towards a line of credit opened up for someone to purchase.
Yeah.
But a bank doesn't, I don't believe, have the structure or the infrastructure for something with this type of program. So the reason is, there is some tax avoidance in the fact that you're paying $26,000 a year, your full carry costs, $26,000 to $30,000 a year. And those carry costs, if you do make income on your rentals and you don't use the property, it's rolled back into the company for uses in the property, improvements, things, benefits to you, benefits to your next year's expenses, those type of things, all not really showing an income front for the individual that's a membership interest. So the LLC holds all of the insurance. Okay. There is no expenses. You don't have to carry renter insurance. You carry no expenses. Your name isn't in electric, any of that kind of thing. So all of those things are just taken care of with one monthly expense.
Yeah. That was my next question. I already actually have a gravity house. I have a gravity house and a Four Seasons under contract right now. And for the gravity house, I believe she wants to rent, and I believe she has to get renter's insurance for that. She has common area, I mean, the general insurance, but renter's insurance she would have to get. I was, and very few insurance companies offer these type of, co-ownership renter's insurance. There are through Airbnb and Verbo, etc. But yeah, that was one of the snafus or the issues that we were having with that one specifically.
Well, that again is your second home experience. I mean, the other one piece that we didn't address in that second home feel is in a timeshare or fractional situation. If you have clients in those, I have sold those, and they never get the same place twice. Or maybe they do and they get lucky, but it's a 2-bedroom that you're purchasing. There's no specific nature to that 2-bedroom. It's a 2-bedroom within the property. So of that being said, you are coming home to the same property every single time. So that's another real difference maker, which I think really is the best part of the program.
Yeah, it really does feel like you're home. You're coming to the same place every time. You know where the elevator is, you know where the closest little coffee shop is. And you're not having to bounce around between units. That's a great point, Jeff.
And then the owners are going to have, I guess, the co-owners are going to have like concierge type services. How would the management work? I guess the HOA, going back to the HOA, would be included in that when you said in the
Correct.
925, I think you mentioned. How about the management and the services? So you have 8 co-owners or 6, maybe you can buy. Can you buy more than one
Absolutely.
share of that
Yeah.
specific
Yeah,
property?
we have several owners who have bought multiple
Okay.
fractions in the same unit. Or one of the benefits is if you're not buying a whole home, you can own places in multiple places. So we have multiple fraction owners that way as well.
Okay. And what type of, services, rental management, concierge services, once you become a co-owner, specifically, for example, at the Lion, what type of services would you offer? And if you want to store your bike or your skis or your boots, what type of,
Yeah, so we
services would
offer
you
a full
offer?
service experience. So Ancana literally handles everything from dealing with the expenses and splitting the expenses equally amongst the owners, to making sure that every owner has their own dedicated concierge. So the minute that you become an owner with Ancana, you'll have a concierge who's there to help you with anything. If it's securing, figuring out when the Epic Pass prices go up and making sure you get one in time. If it's making sure the fridge is stocked when you get there. As you mentioned, there are ski lockers in the Lion. We'll have your skis, your bikes, everything all set and ready for you when you get there. So it really does feel like a full service experience. It's like you're walking into a luxury hotel every time, except it's your home and it's always ready to go when you get there. We like to say, we like to make every vacation feel like home. And that's really what our goal is that you're on vacation, but it's a place you're familiar with. It's a place that you own and you feel ties to. And we just make sure that you can spend most of your time making memories there instead of having to take care of the place.
Yeah, you show up and you don't have to drag bikes out of a storage locker, none of that stuff. It's just there for you. It's ready to go. And that's, again, the emphasis of that really hands-on experience. So when you show up, that's all you have to do. Bring your toothbrush if that's all you need.
Great. And can the co-owners, so let's say that I have a client that, purchases co-ownership at the Lion. Can you trade with other properties within Ancana Living? Is that an option, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a few options there. Again, for any owner that can't use their weeks, they want to put up for rent. That's always an option. But like you mentioned, our goal has always been to kind of expand the Ancana network so that people could swap within homes within Ancana. It's something that we're still working on. Obviously, that swapping system works pretty well in Mexico right now. But when you look at more luxury properties like Vail or property in Madrid, we really need to figure out how that exchange program works. That is our end goal, is that if you're an Ancana owner, you will have access to swap with any of the other Ancana properties. Yeah, that's the goal.
Very, very interesting. Anything else? Oh, no, I have another question. How do you see, what are your plans in Vail in terms of expansion? How do you see Ancana Living expanding in the next 5 years? What are your plans in the Vail or Vail Valley? Not only Vail Village or Lions Head, but within the Vail Valley. What do you have? What are your plans, if you can talk about them?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to talk about them. Yeah, I mean, we're very focused on Vail. We have pretty big expansion plans here. I mean, we really do think there is a lot of demand for co-ownership, and with Jeff's help, our goal is over the next 2 or 3 years to have 20 properties up and running under co-ownership.
Wow, that's great.
All varieties. I mean, first and easiest are condos. the access to a condo and the exit to a condo is super simple. And that's why we sell a lot of those, Beatrice. I mean, that's really a big focus in our area. But expanding into townhomes, homes, what really fits the product or our group is really where we're going to expand into. But obviously our foot in the door and our first step is in the condo system. So that expanding very early and gaining properties so that we can trade within the Vail area. If somebody wants poolside instead of the property that they currently have a property in or ownership in, they can, begin swapping in this local area, So as we begin to expand, the easiest way and the demand for amenities is very much so covered in a HOA condominium townhome type of situation over a single family home. So expanding out to the single family area, takes a little bit more legwork and a little bit more than what a condo is really serving us as a condo.
No, and at the end of the day, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, we have, in the early days here, we have a very international lead base. And the people that are, the international people that are interested in units like ours, they really want to come up here and enjoy the amenities. That's part of why I think our offering is so appealing, is because you can get up here in the times that you want. You don't have to worry about anything while you're here. You get access to all the amenities. You get access to the seasons that you want. And, then you get to go home at the end of it and not have to worry about what's happening with your home. Just know that someone's taking care of it at all times.
Yeah, no, agreed. Anything else that Jeff, you or Ryan that would like to add about Ancana? Anything, or the Vail offerings, Mexico offerings, anything else that you might would like to add before we finalize our podcast?
Well, I won't bore people with data, but I do enjoy looking at kind of the way the market does run. And, as we start to see the economy slow down slightly with some inconsistency in what is being messaged to everyone in the purchase area, the second home market is going to continue to shrink in the purchase because, again, as I said earlier, we sell things that people don't need. So this is a want. It's not a necessity. Yeah. So if you can place something as a want at a high level in a high luxury market, it's going to be very attractive to the person that still wants to purchase a property, but not really wanting to plank down $5+ million to get that exact same property. So I think as our economy transitions and the vacation market changes, I think it will be attractive to a lot more buyers because of the fact that they can control their week, their days, and feel like it's their home for a mere fraction of what it would cost to own a 3-bedroom condo in Vail today. So
and still benefit from, as we say in Spanish, la plusvalía, for the appreciation of the property. That again, the fact that they can have to stay at least 1 year, that's okay, and then they can resell it. Or they are really buying something that has appreciation value to it as well.
Well, so it doesn't hurt as bad.
It's not an expense.
In a risky economy, it doesn't hurt as bad to spend $1.2 million or $925,000 over 5. So the question of that expenditure is much easier to deal with at this point in time. So.
And Jeff, I agree with you. It has been happening to me for the past year and a half. I've been getting a lot of inquiries about fractionals. I remember when the Vail it was called the Vail Mountain Club back then, before the Sebastian. I remember I sold a few of those, the same as the Four Seasons when they first came out. Then I didn't hear anything about fractionals for 10 years, maybe 15 years. All of a sudden this past year. And I agree with you. I think it's a convergence of two things: is the changing of the economy, as you just mentioned, and the fact that after the pandemic, for the past 5 years, the values of the properties have skyrocketed. So, before we were dealing with the 1% of the population, now we're dealing with the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Because now the properties are, I get these calls where I want a 3-bedroom in Vail Village, and my budget is 3.5. I'm like, go someplace else. I mean, that was, when was the last time that you looked at an MLS online, or, that's long gone. It happened to me with the Northwoods that's on the market right now. That's at 6.4. I had a client, oh my God, I'm very interested, what's the price in 6.4? He's like, no. I went online and I looked at it, and it was at, 3 point something. I was like, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What you found was an old, link that was 5 years ago. So I think, right now it's a great opportunity for co-offering, specifically in Vail. And going back to what I was saying is, for the past year, I started getting back into co-ownership deals. I have 2 under contract right now, and it just happened. It wasn't me getting inquiries just because they wanted they were looking for that type of product. So I think it's definitely, Ryan, the right time 100% to bring this on in Vail. And I also think, Jeff, that it's 100% it's going to grow tremendously in the next couple of years. So you're at the right place at the right time.
I truly feel that it will grow during a time when the true residential market is recovering. Now, our recovery point, I think we're starting to see that, because as we can see, the appraised value of homes is actually looking a little bit more attractive now than it did in 2023 when they proposed that. So as they assess the properties again here locally, our luxury market will always recover. Okay. There will always be people going to buy luxury products. That's just not something that's going to stop, but at the volume. So we and ANCANA, and when I'm speaking as we, they've created a commodity that doesn't have to slow down. If you want it, it's right there right now. It is ready, and it is a second home experience. And if it's your first step, own it for a year and a half or 2 and sell it and move into the next one.
Yeah, agreed. Well, listen, thank you so much, Ryan and Jeff, for being here. I think this is going to be of great interest to our listeners. I truly appreciate your time.
And yours.
Ryan y Jeff, likewise. Ryan y Jeff, muchísimas gracias por compartirnos su visión de lo que será Ancana Living in Vail. Please let our listeners know how they could reach you if they're interested in purchasing a co-ownership opportunity at Ancana Living. Jeff, if you want to give us your contact information so that our listeners can contact you if they're interested.
Of course. My email is Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at ronbyrne.com. That's RONBYRNE.com. And my cell phone is 720-314-0023. Best way to get a hold of me. And then through ANCANA, Ryan.
Yeah.
What's the website? I'm going to put everything in the show notes, by the way.
Perfect. Yeah.
So everything's going to be in the show notes. Okay.
You can find more information about ANCANA at ANCANALiving.com. You could also email me directly at ryan@AncanaLiving.com.
Y a nuestra audiencia, gracias por escuchar otro episodio de Conquering Vail. Si quieren más información sobre las oportunidades de co-ownership en Ancana Living en Vail, no dejes de contactarme por WhatsApp al 001-970-404-1729 o por Instagram a Bea en Vail. Suscríbete a mi podcast en Spotify y aquí en mi canal de YouTube para que te enteres semanalmente de todo lo nuevo en el Vail Valley, tanto de real estate como de lifestyle. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme en la mañana de hoy y nos vemos muy pronto en las pistas de Vail. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.